Hello everyone, I hope you are doing well. Um, let's wait for a while in waiting of your friends to join us for 2 or 3 minutes. After that we can start. Um, in this time I will ask you to according to this time I'm asking you to remind me about what we did the previous week. So try to check the documents and just inform me what we did previous week. To add anyone, I already shared the group code. He can join us, Yani, easily without any interference from me. He can join the group using the Teams code. Okay, I will share my screen. Let's start. I will go to class materials and so who's gonna remind me about the previous week? What we did exactly, what we talked about. Huh. So I will ask you today about previous week. What is ethics? What is concerned about reasoning, practical reasoning, difference between theoretical and practical reasoning. Please remind me. I have a bad memory. After that, we had here an example. Before moving this, just I want to ask you what is ethical? What is ethics in engineering? Can you remind me about?
Search
Yes.
your voice not come.
Huh. I'm sorry. Why it's not coming?
Now coming.
Okay. Okay. Just can you remind me about the previous week? What is ethics? What we saw? What is difference between theoretical reasoning, practical reasoning? Before moving to a case, we watch a video, I guess, about ethical in engineering. Why my we watched a video previous week about it. I will just download this one. Download much better. I can open separately away from the group. So in the previous week, we checked a video about definition of ethics. So what do you think? Can you remind me about what is ethics in engineering and what does it mean, ethics? What does it, in ideas? So we said ethics is generally in our daily life. We have to take what? Decisions. And when we are thinking about these decisions, maybe as engineers, it's gonna be affect our society and the environment in general. So we want to take the best solution and somehow to make we are balanced between different goals. These goals could be, for example, some is servicing the community, some it's about the environment, some it's about different categories or the goals are interfered in some such kind of area. So ethics here it's about taking decision and somehow or which decision can be taken to provide the best way. If you forget, we watched
Make
video.
mistakes in life and
We watched this video previous week.
engineering, you're not always going to succeed. What's important is that you learn from your screw-ups and incorporate those lessons into what you do next. Because when you don't, the consequences can be bad, even deadly. To help keep us on track, we need something that will provide a sense of morality and a set of best practices for doing good in the world. We need ethics. Specifically, we need engineering ethics.
So when we talk about engineering, we are talking about the things gonna be provided, or for example, some of engineers want to do a bridge or want to do a road or something. So what is the decision they can make in somehow to achieve different goals? It is not about people, it's about also nature, different things. So if you remember, since there is no answer about it, we can just remind you quickly. I will accelerate.
Engineering is a broad, ever-changing field. With so many different branches, it's good to have some common ground, a general set of guidelines or ideas for how the engineers of the world should go about solving problems. One of these is safety, which we'll talk about more next time. The other is ethics. In general, ethics is a moral philosophy that tries to deal with what's...
So it is moral. Moral in Turkey it is ahlaki, philosophy that try to deal with different rights. What is wrong and what is duty is good and what is not bad to avoid,
right, what's wrong, and what your duty is to do good and not do bad. Engineering ethics is essentially the same mindset, just applied to the field of engineering. It's the study of values, issues, and decisions that are involved with the work of engineers. Ethics has a particular importance for engineers because people's lives are so often going to be in your hands. It's not just about remembering your manners or being nice to your neighbour. What you create as an engineer could save a person's life or take it away. When you swallow a pill at the hospital, you need to be able to trust that the people that came up with it...
Here's just an example about, for example, in chemistry or something, they will making some medicines. So the users or the one who wants to use these medicines in somehow, they are trust the companies that's behind or that's made these pills for their life and everything. So in somehow
interests in mind. When you drive over a bridge, you need to know that the civil engineers who designed it...
Also, if you are using a bridge, you want to feel that it is built in a good way in somehow, because it is gonna be affect a lot of people's life in somehow.
Took the time to make it as sturdy as possible. The foods you eat, the cars you drive, the wires in your home, they all need to be designed with ethics in mind. If you want to see how bad an engineering failure can be, look no further than the Kansas City Hyatt Regency collapse. In July of 1980...
So, as an example here, it is Kansas City. Also, in our course, we check that Fukushima nuclear disaster happened, which pose different questions about using nuclear as a source of energy, because its effects here generate such kind of radiation, etc., which will take years and years to be disappeared and affect the next generation. Also, in this discussion about source of energy, we said that we can use non-renewable sources like gas, etc., but in somehow this is gonna be also affect the environment due to the gases released by using this kind of source. We talked about also using nuclear or by using nuclear source as energy. It's open also a new window for some medical application. It's such kind of discussion here about what is the benefits, what we can use, and what's the causes and everything. So what is the decision about using nuclear? It is, can we use it, can we not use it? It is this open discussion about is it ethical to use nuclear power for providing energy, electricity, etc. We moved to identify here two different theoretical reasoning and practical reasoning. And also we took an example about here the one theoretical is based on such kind of mathematical equation to find solution. About the practical is based about there is no proof, but according to the experience, there is no study to discover it. But through practice, it is showing that maybe some, in case of you are feeling sick, it's such kind of drinks or foods gonna be help you to get better as your normal state. Also, we talked about previously about before this is gonna be open another window between the law and ethics, and sometimes we can find things are legal but not moral, etc. Or this is the intersection here between moral, ethical, legal, illegal, ethical, and unethical. Now, in case of anything we want to take, we have to determine our goals. I need to take the right decision. What's the priorities? What is the goals we are responsible for. So generally here we will study such kind of cases. Away from or some theoretical, some how can I say, engineering problem. Here we have a road number 5, or we have a road between. Let's read this because I don't to miss something. I don't want to based on my memory. Here, consider again nuclear power. The ends generally remains the same. In this case, health, safety, and biodiversity. Knowledge about technology. Anyway, it is just talking about the case of using nuclear weapon, not nuclear weapon, nuclear power. And somehow it's still discussion here about what is it ethical, is it not ethical, what is the benefits, what is the goals here. In the same case, here, we have also involved about this road. It's connected between you are engineering and you are working here. Let's take a real example. You are engineer and you are who works for Ankara Istanbul Road Commission. Your job actually is to maintain the safety of the roads going through Bolu Mountains. So there is some roads are going to Bolu Mountains. What is the issue here? Or what is the problem here? The problem is that this road have a lot of accidents, and somehow we can see here from the graphs that the cars are, or there is a lot of, since the road, it has a lot of, not straight, have a lot of narrow sections, and it's not straight in somehow, and there is a lot of trees there. It's kind of here the traffic on the road and highway through Bolu Mountains. It's a very active road, and somehow we have a lot of accidents generally appears. And we have here, as in this image showing here, we have here trees in both sides of the road. So due to the situation of the road and things, this cause lots of accidents. Some cars are making accidents with trees. So as engineer, as you are, or as the one who is responsible about maintenance and making sure that the road is safe for the cars, maybe someone think we will cut this trees directly and finish this or solve this problem by this way, but these trees are really, really unique trees, and they have years and years there. So cutting the roads, it's also going to be affect the environment. Also, it is very, very old and precious trees. It's named redwood trees in this forest. So as an engineer, between your duty here, the first goal is to fix the road for the cars. Second here, how we gonna solve this if you are dealing with environment as well. So we have here two different goals. Maybe here the accidents, or maybe someone will say the accidents, it has happened because the drivers are during driving their cars, they have or they are using, they are in very high speed, and this is their mistake, and this is what caused the accidents or increase traffic accidents in this road. The road name is E5. So between this, what you will do in this contradiction, we have here traffic gonna be increased. We have redwoods problem, environmental problem, accidents are increased. What you suppose, or what is the decision you're gonna take to solve this case? Maybe we cut all the woods and the area will be clean, and it's gonna be safer for using. It's gonna be safer for the cars. In the other side, this is gonna be make some society, the ones who care about the environment and nature, make them angry, and maybe they will judge you about this cutting those trees. So between those two ethical or two goals, what we supposed to do here? There is someone speaking about the environment group. These accidents are, it is the mistake of the drivers, careless. Yani they are not caring, they are not driving carefully with the high speed. So the drivers, if they don't drive safely, what we're supposed to do, yani, for them? We should keep the beauty and ecological around us while we can, yani, save the environment. So all of these letters and how can I say conflicted goals. To solve this, there is no, how can I say, there is no a book, or it is not a math 1 + 1 is gonna be equal 2. So in somehow we are thinking about those goals and try to find something in the middle. So to solve this, generally we have to ethical practice reasoning, try to finding the best or the less the one less harmful in between all of this case, regarding or find ourselves in situation with one more goal. Here we have one more goals, applied. So it can be such a situation we usually find ourselves in ethical issue. So what we're supposed to do here, there is such kind of what we call the ethical code. This ethical code have an your priority. What is your first priority? What is your second priority? And in taking decision, you will put this code in your mind. For example, here we have different societies here, or according to the society. For example, each society have its own ethical code, according to which engineering we are talking about. If we are talking about the National Society of Professional Engineering, this is the general code. If we are talking about the Code of Ethical of American Society Civil Engineering, it's related to civil engineering, so it is ASCI. If we are talking about the ethical engineering about electrical and electronic engineering, it is IEEE. So we can check generally before moving to this. We can continue with the video because it is talking about this point. Let's continue watching the video and check what is talking about this issue about conflicting goals.
In Kansas City, Missouri, was showing off its new multi-story atrium, decked out with 2 levels of suspended walkways. These walkways were supported by beams which were supposed to be held up by long rods hanging from the ceiling. To even the load and reduce the stress on each beam, the walkways were supposed to have a single rod extending all the way through them. But something happened between the initial design stage and the actual building of the atrium. When the builders had some difficulty putting it together, the system was modified to have 2 separate shorter rods instead of a single longer one. This design change meant that the upper rod had to not only support the weight of the walkway that it held up, but
she's here talking just about the disaster happened for this project, but she would move as soon as possible to the ethical code and what is the goals should be followed to solve, or the priority we will take in somehow to try to find or take a decision in somehow to achieve all the goals as much as possible.
also the one below it, essentially doubling the load. During a party about a year after the atrium opened, these beams failed and the 2 walkways collapsed, killing 114 people and injuring 216 others. In terms of lost lives, it was one of the most devastating structural failures in US history. A lot went wrong, much of it caused by poor oversight and bad communication. A formal review of the change design never happened, strength calculations were never performed, work was subcontracted.
This is the investigation about this accident. What they found a lot of disaster in the building of the in the design due to the bad communication.
Contracted out, and the engineer on record put their seal on the design without personally checking everything. It all could have been prevented if only they'd followed the engineer's code of ethics. There are a couple of different ones out there, but today we'll use the code of ethics from the American Society of Civil Engineers.
So now she will talk about the code of ethics. She will represent it and talk about it. Is generally the aim here is to determine the goals that we should follow in taking any decision about any engineering design or thing we are doing.
Or ASCE. Their code of ethics has 8 distinct principles, the first being...
So it is in somehow having 8 principles. She will explain this one by one. We just will follow her.
Hold safety paramount. This means that your chief concern as an engineer needs to be the health and welfare of the public. The rule goes on to...
So the first one, it is to make sure that the public is working for safety and wellness of the public, for the people.
Say that you should...
It is actually showing, because I don't, there is a video, it's much better to watch, but it is the same one written here. First, it is here the code declares about civil engineering. It's not the full one, but it's just summarized. But we can watch the one presented in the video.
only approve designs that are determined to be safe and that conform with accepted engineering standards. The fact that
Let me check also for maybe if there is Turkish version. It's sure gonna be much better for some students, probably.
weren't any calculations done on the design changes to the walkway, and that the engineer on duty approved the designs without properly checking them, clearly goes against this principle. That's why the Committee of Professional Conduct that reviewed the case ruled that the engineer had violated their code and suspended them from the society for 3 years. If you take a look at the rest of the code, you can see some other useful rules about how engineers should approach a problem. The second rule is to service with competence, which means that you should only work in
Service with competence and show your ability.
areas that you're skilled in. If you're not an electrical engineer, you shouldn't be messing with the wires in a building. The third states that you should always issue true statements. Basically, don't lie. Then comes the need to act as a faithful agent for each of your employers or clients and avoid conflict.
And working for your goodness for your client and agents in the same way. If you check here, it is the same one written here. Being honest, in service fidelity, public, their employer, etc., and the client. The knowledge, using their knowledge and skills of the for the enhancement of human welfare and environment. Yani, it is the same code she's presenting.
Conflicts of interest. One of your jobs shouldn't cause you to sabotage another. There's also the rule of reputation by merit, which means your reputation is built up by the work that you do and not by unfair means. That goes hand in hand with the requirement to uphold professional honour, where you act with integrity and have a zero-tolerance policy for bribery, fraud, or any sort of corruption. The seventh rule is to continue professional development, and it's one of the most important for the long-term growth of society in the engineering field. You need to not only foster your own development as an engineer, but that of other engineers as well. You always need to report what happens, no matter the consequences. And finally, the eighth rule is to treat all persons fairly, which is really just a good mantra for life. Now, codes are great, but they're not perfect. People can and do break the rules, and codes can't always address every.
And somehow, if you check these principles or this objective, you will find that in somehow they have such kind of contradiction between us. In some way, they said, or it is mentioned, you have to work for the environment. In another point, you have also to serve for it, and somehow this goes, somehow it has such kind of contradiction. And this is what any issue during taking the position, during taking the decision is trying to solve.
Situation. They may need to be updated as society and technology advance. So it all comes down to this. What are the highest priorities? If engineers are trying to create good for the public, you need to ask, what is good and how can we?
So the first here, it's to ask a question, what is the good and what is the useful case? Because it is a different kind of goals interfered with each one. So what is your priority as the first place?
Prioritize good. It can't just be consequentialism, having the end justify the means, or you leave the door open for some pretty big ethical grey areas. No, we need better ethics than that. One of the most influential ethical theories to engineering has been utilitarianism. This is the belief that actions are right if they're.
This is some theories about to determine which priorities is gonna be used to determine which one you will select.
Useful or beneficial to the majority of people. You should try and maximize the overall good that you can do, taking into account all of those that will be affected by your actions. Rights ethics is also very important. Simply put, you should do your best to respect the rights of others. Acts of respect aren't just ideal but necessary, regardless of whether or not they always maximize the overall good. In that way, you can see how ethical theories can stack on each other. There's also duty ethics, which is all about respecting another person's autonomy. This builds on rights ethics, but puts the spotlight on your duties rather than another person's rights. If you have a right to live, then I have a duty to not market a misleading product that could kill you, or sign off on a new walkway design that I haven't checked. Applying engineering ethics is all about trying to balance these ethical theories with whatever situation you're put in. It's not always easy or simple, but as an engineer, you have a duty to try your best. We improve individually and as a community with practice and learning from the past. Remember that City Court building we talked about last episode? The one whose pillars were in the middle of its sides rather than...
And somehow she, in indirect way, she is talking here about trying to find the balance.
And at the corners. Wind from the wrong angle could cause the entire structure to fall, and no one realised until a student pointed out the problem after it was already built. After those discoveries were made and they started immediate repairs, did they have an obligation to inform everyone in the building? How about the church that was underneath it? What about the people in the surrounding area, or the media, or the local government? What was the proper protocol that they should have followed? If you pick apart this incident, you can zero in on the ethics surrounding several of these points. To start, you need to analyse those wind loads. You need to check all of your calculations and not simply rely on building codes.
She's turning back to the disaster happened for the building as an example. Yani, because it was a big disaster in US, so she was taking what you're supposed to do first before, yani, to avoid this disaster in somehow.
Which only set minimum requirements and aren't always what a specific project needs. Then you should address the design changes, which in this case was a switch from welded connections to bolted ones. Those changes need to be considered in the overall design and checked by everyone involved. It can't just be a hasty decision. You also have your professional responsibility to follow the codes of conduct for every chartered institution that applies to what you're doing. Public statements are absolutely necessary in a situation like this. The public has a right to know what's going on so they can plan accordingly. If you don't release a public statement, or like City Court put one out that's misleading, you're denying people their right to ensure their own safety and make their own educated decisions. Finally, no matter what happens, you need to share and contribute to the advancement of professional knowledge. Concealing the City Court problem for over 20 years robbed everyone of decades of ethical and engineering learning. That's why even when tragedies happen, it's important to treat them as case studies on what you might learn to do differently in the future when approaching other problems. Like if you're going to try and go into space, you need to know about the Space Shuttle Challenger disaster. In 1986, a leak in one of its solid rocket boosters ignited the main liquid fuel tank, resulting in the loss of the vehicle and the death of the crew. NASA found the cause of the disaster to be the failure of an O-ring seal in the solid fuel rocket. And while there were many factors that contributed to this disaster, it was fundamentally an ethics problem. Sufficient testing hadn't been done on the O-rings, and NASA management didn't listen to the concerns of some engineers, all so they could stay on their launch schedule. Who knows what would have happened if a better ethical code was followed? It could have still gone wrong, but maybe it wouldn't have. All we can do is try, and with a strong code of ethics at our side and knowledge of the past at our backs, we can make the best, most informed decisions to ensure our designs have the best possible impact. There's no better way to do it. Today we talked about ethics and how it can be applied to engineering. We learned what a code of ethics is and how it can apply to a situation like the Kansas City Hyatt Regency collapse. Then we learned about engineering ethics and the ethical theories of utilitarianism, rights ethics, and duty ethics. Finally, we brought it all together by going back to the situation with City Corp and analysing it from an ethical perspective. I'll see you next time when we'll talk about safety.
This is generally about what's mentioning here about the code. This is summarized in the video in somehow. What is each point is talking about, explanation. And somehow, as I said, some goals are interfered with each other, or they can be have such kind of conflict between each other. Here, what is the issue here? Is the code is just providing a general professional goals, but it's not will tell you what is the solution exactly about the problem of the highway E5. So also the goals, as I said, this has such kind of conflicts. So actually, in solving such kind of these problems, it's need the practice or having such kind of experience. You should use your scale knowledge to enhance human wealth, and then somehow in the second one it is showing this is the contradiction we talked about. So which one you are going to follow as usual? There is here to solve such kind of this problem, we will describe what we called a paradigm case. What is the paradigm case? Or how we can apply practical ethical reasoning and somehow and it's an old technique. It's named paradigm case, and in somehow it is put, what's the paradigm case? It's put the perfect situation of what the thing's supposed to be. Yani, in our example, if I want to implement this, I will think what is the best imagination of the road E5. What is the best imagination? And after that, I will move to what we called the paradigm case and try to find a creative. We are looking here for something creative and somehow try to find a point in between. This is the paradigm case, or what is the ideal case? It's a paradigm case or the ideal case of the subway or highway A5. It should have low obstacle, low traffic, whatever. Yani, this is the imagination of the best way for this road. So this is my paradigm case. I'm going to move to the problematic case. Paradigm case to the problematic case, that's for short of the idea to be different degrees. The problematic in our case here, the paradigm case, we imagine a minimal obstacle to traffic, or for this road it should be like this. The problem is our problem with redwoods and what we can do for this. In this kind of solving problems, maybe we can, cutting the woods is not the solution. Maybe we can think in someone in between, in somehow to keep the woods and in somehow keep the safety of the cars from having accident with trees. So the idea here, as shown here, we can, for example, build a wall, and this wall in somehow it's gonna be protect the cars. It's also gonna be, how can I say, draw a limit for the trees, and somehow they will not expand it or having any issue to this road. This is one of the ideas, just to try to solve this problem and find something in between. Here, we are trying to resolving the conflicting calls. So as an idea here is to make in the critical area or the sensitive area, build a wall, and in somehow this wall is gonna be keep the limits for the trees and keep the limits also for the cars, the traffic, as we said. Here we have to think about this. Yani, we call this, or conflicting calls, actually we call it ethical dilemma. This is one of the terminology you should know. Ethical dilemma. And folding, here we will have two conflicting goals. It's kind of ethical dilemma, and you have interfered with both goals. And somehow we are trying to find a solution that's in the middle. To solve this case of the road A5. Here also, it's just trying to ask some different philosophical questions about which of the following depends primarily upon theoretical, that's in mathematical scientific reasoning. Which one of this is gonna follow mathematical or scientific reasoning? Which one of this primary gonna be also depend on practical ethical reasoning? Here we have such different kind of cases are possible. Just a general question about this case. I want here, before going to any details, I want to check or open. I think the web page it's disappeared, so we can, based on we can write directly this ethical code, or we can also search about it actually. Or directly, maybe we can find the video. Anyway, we can, I think I'm not using here Google, but this is the code. You can find it in this correct link. And I think you can download it as well. Since I'm not using Google, it's much better to use Google for this. I use Google browser much better. So we can find here the code. Also, I think there is a certain video talking about the code, national code. I will share it with you later. But supposed to find here, there is a code to talk about this code in details. The link is changed actually. Anyway, the most important things here is just to I'm gonna say know that there is a code have such kind of priority. Generally, most of codes having the same or this intersection area, common area about this course. What's here a paradigm case? This actually coming from the philosopher Aristotle paradigm case, and from the paradigm case, you are going to move to the problematic, and in between this, you are going to think what you can reduce in somehow to find something in the middle between both of them, any balanced solution, and somehow to achieve as much possible. There is no perfect solution about this, but it is in somehow it is a balanced solution that's gonna be not harming both goals as much as possible. Here I will let these questions for you. Question 1, question 2, you can. It is actually such kind of philosophical questions. Second one, 3 and 2, and why. Here also most important is what is ethical or ethical dilemma here. It is what we called here conflicts between goals, two goals. It's kind of dilemma here. This is just here a discussion about the situation of A5 road, about now cutting down of the redwoods, what's gonna be happen, not cutting, what's gonna happen, and a discussion about this, and somehow the main idea here, we built an ideal case or paradigm case, and we will try to think about something in the middle and somehow to find, as I said, a point in the middle. We can, please try to read this carefully. We will talk about this in the next week, and it about those two questions and this conversation or this discussion about these interfered goals. We will discuss about them next week. Also try to prepare here, as we talked about, there is another, or it's an extension here to that discussion. And here we have another situation in the same context here. Here a friend calls you, he or she needs your help in somehow to go, I don't know, to get through the night, take him or pick him. But tomorrow you have a final exam, and here you don't know what decision you are going to take. You will perform on, and this is gonna be affecting your final exam and also your future job in the future. So here, what is the both or conflicting or not point for you is to show your loyalty to your friend, that you are always, you want to help and you are helpful man or woman. The second one is this gonna be affected on your career or also future job, or about the exam, is attending to your own self-improvement. So which decision you are going to take as well, or how you can balance between those two. We cannot say goals, two aims as a very soft word. Continue the discussion, and just it is there is here no answer about this, just it is a discussion trying to always reflecting the idea of between the highway number A5. This is what I asked you here, just this conversation. Try to read it carefully. And because it is everything, it is written, and it's supposed, or I was expecting that we will discuss about those things, but most of the participants, I don't know, they just sign in and or enter the course and have no relationship later or sleeping, I don't know. So you try to read this because in your exam, the questions are coming from those scenarios, those questions, those terminology. So it is important for you. Try to fix it right now. And clean your house, as I said, always clean your house. Don't let the things accumulated. And probably you will have exam directly after Ramadan month, so you should be ready. It's time to study hard, not to sleep and push yourself a little bit. Later we will be more comfortable with no issues. This is my only request, and the video is already shared. If you want to watch it again, try to summarize those information. What's the ethics? What's about and terminology and those scenarios, and somehow about Redwood and what is the problem here, what was the problem, how they solve this, what is the issue, what is the paradigm case, what is a dilemma. All of this should be careful about. Also about here the code, what is the most important, or what is the code is mentioned or talked about. That's it for today. I will finish it right here. The course notes are shared with you, so please prepare, and I hope you can share your ideas, share your thoughts in the next session as well. Take care of yourself and see you next week. If you don't have any questions. Okay. Since there is no question.
Sir,
Yes,
how you take the attendance?
it is already saved here. It is saved automatically in the meeting according to the time of the attending time. The system is automatically saved the list and consider the attendance way. And the teams have already.
Okay, I understand. Sorry.
Okay. Good night. Good night.
Good night. I have one question more, sir.
Yes.
How will our exam? How will be our
If
exam?
you are listening to what I'm saying, during the sessions, you will know exactly what I'm going to ask for.
Classic
Okay.
or test?
I don't know. I didn't decide about this.
Hmm.
I advise you to just summarize what I said.
Okay.
يعني because be careful يعني after Ramadan directly you will have exam. يعني your Bayram is directly is gonna be exam. This is your Bayram. So
Okay.
be careful.